It started with a simple feeling a pair of headlights behind him that didn't look unusual at first, until he realized they hadn't changed position for almost 15 minutes. Ethan drove the same route every night after finishing his late shift, and nothing about that small, quiet highway was ever dramatic until tonight. At first, he told himself it was nothing. Maybe the driver behind him lived in the same direction. Maybe he was overthinking because he was tired. But when Ethan slowed down slightly and the car behind him slowed to precisely, unnervingly, like a shadow, his heartbeat tightened. He switched lanes, the car switched lanes. He took an unnecessary right turn, the car took it too. And that's when panic crawled up his spine. He reached for his phone but stopped. He didn't want the person behind him to know he had noticed. So he made a split-second decision. Instead of speeding up or heading home, he decided to follow them. He slowed almost to a stop on an empty road, pretending to pull over. The car behind him hesitated, then drove past. And Ethan, breath shaking, pulled in behind it. If they were following him, he'd find out now. But he had no idea that the truth he was about to discover would be far more terrifying than a random stranger on a dark road, because the person in that car wasn't just watching him tonight. They had been watching him for months. Ethan kept several car lengths behind as the vehicle ahead drifted down the narrow 2-lane road. The asphalt was still damp from an earlier drizzle, glistening with the faint reflection of the car's taillights. Ethan gripped his steering wheel, trying to steady his breathing. He wasn't reckless by nature. In fact, anyone who knew him would say he avoided conflict at all costs. But tonight he couldn't ignore the dread twisting inside him. Whoever was in that car had matched his every move for nearly half an hour. That wasn't a coincidence. And now, with Ethan following them instead, their behavior would finally reveal the truth. The car didn't speed up. It didn't react in any hurried or panicked way. Instead, it continued calmly, almost confidently, as though the driver knew Ethan was behind them and didn't mind at all. That bothered him more than anything else. If it had sped off, he would have chalked it up to some nervous person or maybe a criminal afraid of being exposed. But this felt intentional. Like the driver wanted him to follow. The more Ethan studied the taillights ahead, the more details he noticed. The car was older, a dark sedan with a dent near the bumper. Its left taillight flickered every few seconds, dimming in and out like a dying heartbeat. He had seen that exact flicker earlier when it was behind him. There was no mistake, this was the same car. The road eventually curved into a wooded area where houses became sparse. Ethan hesitated. This wasn't good. If anything happened here, no one would see. But turning back now felt like surrender. He needed answers. He needed to know why someone was following him. So he continued. After several minutes, the sedan suddenly slowed and pulled into a clearing off the road near an old abandoned rest stop. The building was small and graffitied, its windows shattered long ago. The sedan parked near the shadows, still running. Ethan parked a distance away and watched. No one got out. The engine stayed on, humming faintly. Ethan's pulse hammered. Whoever was inside was either waiting for him or didn't care he was watching. Then a faint movement. The driver's door opened. A figure stepped out, not entirely visible, just a silhouette. Tall, slender, their face hidden under the hood of a dark jacket. They didn't look at their car. They didn't look around. Instead, they turned their head directly toward Ethan's parked car, like they already knew exactly where he was. Ethan froze. He reached for his phone, hands trembling, and dialed 911. But before he could hit call, The hooded figure raised their hand, not waving, not threatening, just slowly lifting it as if signaling him to wait. Then, to Ethan's horror, they pointed directly at him. Ethan ducked instinctively, heart exploding in his chest. When he looked up again, the figure was gone. The driver's seat was empty. The passenger seat was empty. The sedan was still running, but there was no one inside. Ethan's fear transformed into something colder, something he couldn't explain. People didn't just vanish like that. Not silently. Not without opening another door. His rational mind shouted that he should turn the car round, go home, pretend none of this happened. But then he noticed something lying on the ground near the sedan. Something small and metallic. Something that glinted when the headlights shifted. A key. Not just any key. His apartment key. The one he thought he had lost 3 days ago. Daniel tried to convince himself that the car behind him was just a coincidence. Late-night drivers often took the same route. But every time he changed lanes, the car shifted too smoothly, silently, almost predictably. The driver kept a perfect distance, neither speeding up nor slowing down, as if trained to stay invisible yet close. Daniel's grip tightened on the steering wheel. He lowered the radio volume, hearing only the hum of tires against asphalt and his own heartbeat thudding in his ears. He took a sudden right turn into a gas station, not even indicating, hoping to throw the driver off. The mysterious car passed by the entrance, and Daniel exhaled in relief. But then, only seconds later, the same vehicle reappeared in the station's side mirror, pulling into the back lot where the lights were dim. Daniel froze. The gas station attendant glanced at him, sensing something was wrong. "You okay, man?" the attendant asked. Daniel hesitated, then forced a smile. Yeah, long night, but he wasn't fine. He kept watching the mirror. The car's headlights were off now, hidden behind the dumpster area. Someone was inside waiting. Daniel pretended to browse snacks inside the store, hoping whoever was following him would get bored or leave. But the car didn't move. After 10 minutes, Daniel stepped back outside, kept his head low, and got in his own car. He drove out onto the highway again, this time accelerating faster than before. Within a minute, the same pair of headlights appeared behind him, this time closer. That confirmed it. This wasn't random. He was being hunted. Daniel dialed 911. The call connected, but the signal crackled. "I'm being followed," he said shakily. "A dark grey sedan has been behind me for 20 minutes. Sir, stay calm," the operator said. "Is the vehicle attempting to make contact? Trying to run you off the road? No, they're just there. Always there, keep driving on a main road." "Units are being dispatched," Daniel nodded, even though she couldn't see him. The reassuring tone helped, but his stomach still twisted in fear. What did they want? Why him? He had no enemies, no debts, no dark secrets. The sedan pulled closer, nearly touching his bumper. Daniel's breath caught. Suddenly the car swerved left, overtook him, and settled in front of him, blocking his view. Daniel slammed the brakes. The sedan slowed down deliberately, forcing him to match its pace. Then something even stranger happened. The passenger window rolled down. A hand emerged holding a small rectangular object. It wasn't a weapon, it was a phone. The person inside pointed it at Daniel, as if recording him. Daniel's blood ran cold. The sedan sped up again, taking the next exit. Daniel watched it disappear into the foggy night, leaving him confused, terrified, and with far more questions than answers. But the nightmare didn't end there. Hours later, when Daniel finally reached home and collapsed into bed, he noticed something on his nightstand, an object that definitely hadn't been there before. A phone, the same phone the passenger was holding. Someone had been inside his house. And now they wanted him to know. Daniel jumped back from the nightstand, the terror flooding into his veins like ice water. He hadn't left the house unlocked. He was certain the door was sealed when he rushed out earlier. How could someone have entered? And why leave the phone behind? His hands trembled as he reached for the device. It was old, an outdated model, scratched on the edges, the screen slightly cracked. The moment he picked it up, the screen lit up on its own, no password. Just one video file, a single recording labeled, "You need to see this." Daniel hesitated. His instincts screamed to call the police again, but curiosity and fear forced him to tap the file. The video began with a shaky shot of his street. It was filmed from inside the sedan. The timestamp showed it was recorded earlier that night. The driver zoomed in on Daniel's house, then the front door, then the windows. Daniel's chest tightened. They had been watching him long before he noticed. The footage cut abruptly. The next frame showed the inside of his own house. Daniel's living room. The camera moved slowly, intentionally. Someone was walking through with deliberate calmness, recording everything with eerie silence. "What do you want from me?" Daniel whispered to himself, watching the video. The recording moved into his bedroom while he was gone. The camera hovered over his bed, then over the nightstand. Daniel watched in horror as a gloved hand placed the phone exactly where he found it. The video ended. But a second file appeared immediately. This one was labeled, "Follow the car." Daniel pressed play. The screen displayed a girl, young, scared, trembling. She was inside a dark room, tied to a chair, bruises on her arms. She looked straight at the camera and whispered, "Please help me. He's watching me." Daniel's breath caught. Who was she? Was she alive? And how was he connected to this? The camera panned sideways. A masked figure walked into the frame, standing behind the girl. The figure leaned closer, staring directly into the camera as if staring into Daniel's soul. He raised one finger to his lips. Silence. Then the screen went black. Daniel dropped the phone. His heart raced uncontrollably. This wasn't about him randomly being followed. He was being chosen. His 911 call had gone unanswered, never returned. And now, with this new evidence, Daniel realized the terrifying truth. The car wasn't following him to harm him. It was leading him to something. Or someone. And the last message on the phone, a notification appearing out of nowhere, confirmed it. Midnight. Red Hill Road. Come alone. Daniel didn't know the trap he was walking into. But a girl's life depended on him. Daniel drove toward Red Hill Road with trembling hands and a mind full of fear. Fog wrapped around the surrounding forest like a thick, suffocating blanket. The road was isolated, dimly lit by occasional flickering street lamps. Midnight approached. Daniel kept glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting the mysterious sedan to reappear. But the road stayed empty. Finally, he reached an abandoned shed by the woods, the exact location pinned on the phone. The structure looked run down, as if no one had set foot inside for years. Daniel stepped out of his car slowly. The night was painfully silent. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from inside the shed. A muffled cry. Daniel's pulse accelerated. He pushed the creaking door open, flashlight in hand. Dust swirled in the beam of light. He followed the sound deeper inside until he saw her. The girl from the video. She was tied to a support beam, weak but conscious. When she saw Daniel, tears flooded her eyes. "You came, I didn't think anyone would." Daniel rushed to untie her, but a voice echoed from behind him. "Turn around." Slowly, Daniel froze. The masked figure. He stood in the doorway, blocking the exit. Daniel turned, raising his hands instinctively. "What do you want from me?" Daniel pleaded. The figure stepped forward. "I needed you to understand what happens when no one listens." "What are you talking about?" The figure removed his mask. It was the gas station attendant. Daniel's jaw dropped. "You ignored her," the man said, pointing to the girl. Everyone ignored her. Missing posters everywhere, and still no one cared. She escaped once. Came to that gas station begging for help, but no one believed her, not even me, and the man who took her, he's still out there. Daniel's mind spun. "So why follow me? Why record me?" "Because you did care. You noticed the car. You called for help. You didn't walk away." The man stepped closer. "I needed someone who would listen this time," before Daniel could respond. A sudden noise. They weren't alone. Heavy footsteps outside. The true kidnapper had returned. The attendant grabbed Daniel's arm. "Hide now." The shed erupted into chaos. A man burst through the door, wielding a crowbar. The girl screamed. Daniel lunged instinctively, tackling the attacker to the ground. The fight was brutal, desperate. At one moment, the crowbar swung an inch from Daniel's skull. The attendant joined in, helping subdue the kidnapper. After several minutes of struggle, they pinned him down and tied him with the same ropes he used on the girl. Sirens echoed in the distance. Someone had called the police. When officers arrived, they arrested the kidnapper and took statements from Daniel and the girl. As the girl was carried into an ambulance, she held Daniel's hand weakly. "You saved my life," she whispered. Daniel watched her go, shaken but relieved. The attendant approached him quietly. "You followed the car, even when you were scared. That's all she needed." Daniel didn't know what to say. The night had changed him forever. And as police lights illuminated the quiet forest, Daniel finally understood. Sometimes, the people following you aren't the ones you should fear, it's the ones you never see coming. The night had grown unnaturally quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the truth to finally step out of the shadows. Daniel stood at the edge of the abandoned rest stop, the cold wind brushing against his coat as the car, the same one that had followed him for days, sat motionless under the broken streetlight. A part of him wanted to run, but something deeper, something heavier, pushed him forward. He needed answers. He needed the truth. He approached slowly, each footstep echoing like a warning. The closer he got, the clearer everything became. This wasn't random. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't paranoia. Whoever was inside that car had known him, had watched him, had planned this. When he finally reached the driver's window, the engines shut off in a single abrupt breath. The headlights dimmed. For a long moment, nothing moved. Daniel leaned slightly, his voice trembling as he whispered, "Why are you following me?" The door clicked open, not aggressively, not suddenly, but as if the person inside had been expecting this moment, rehearsing for it. A man stepped out, not a stranger, not a random stalker. Daniel froze. He recognized him. The man's face carried the kind of familiarity that hits like a punch, the kind of familiarity that brings memories flooding back whether you want them or not. It was the private investigator his late father had hired years ago, the investigator who disappeared right before Daniel's father died under uncertain circumstances. Daniel's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The man raised his palms slowly, showing he held no weapon. "I didn't want to scare you," he said quietly, his voice steady but drained. But I had to be sure the right person saw the evidence. What evidence? Daniel demanded. The man opened the back door of the suspicious car. Inside was a single folder thick, weathered, nearly bursting with papers, photos, and recorded notes. All of this, the man said, is about your father and what really happened to him. Someone tried to erase these files. Someone powerful. They followed me, so I had to follow you to make sure the only person who deserves the truth gets it before they silence both of us. The words hit Daniel like a shock wave. His father's death had always felt wrong, incomplete, like a page torn from a story. And now, after all these years, that missing page was right in front of him, wrapped in danger, fear, and a truth no one wanted revealed. The wind picked up again, leaves danced around their feet. The man nodded at the folder. "Take it," he whispered. "But once you open it, your life won't ever go back to normal." Daniel reached for it with a trembling hand, the weight of the unknown settling onto his shoulders. The moment he touched it, he understood one thing. The real terror hadn't been the car following him, it was the truth that had been chasing him all along. If you want more deep dive true crime investigations like this, make sure you subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and stay with us as we explore mysteries that still need voices, still need eyes, and still need the truth to come forward. Your support helps us keep these stories alive, and sometimes that's what leads to the breakthrough no one expects.